This video is going to be a little bit different today. We're not going to be going out into the streets or into the wild or anything like that. We're just going to do it in the comfort of my home. And we're going to talk about the craziest tricks that have ever gone down in Toronto. I put out like a little question on my community thing on YouTube here. And I asked like, what are the top 10 craziest tricks that you think have gone down in Toronto? I got a lot of responses on it, and then especially like on my Instagram story as well. Like there was even more responses there. After asking, I was like, I can't put this down to a top 10. It's way too subjective. So in this video, we're just, instead of doing a top 10, we're just gonna do, like, in my opinion, the most standout tricks I could think of. I think there's like 30 that I have on the list, so stick around, sit tight. We're gonna go through 30 tricks or so, but there's a lot worth mentioning as well. I wanna start with a bang. I wanna start with Skydome 13. I'm gonna start with Jon Cos. His switch front heel on Skydome 13 is just insane. I remember being there for that one, and the way he did it too, he just like switch heels it out and then turns it in the air, does it all perfectly. We got to give Jon's hard flip over too, like over to the side of the 13 stair. There's also the other set to the side, over the rail, and then to the small set of stairs. He hard flipped over the rail. He ended up getting a cover of that as well. So yeah, that one's just as crazy too. And he also hard flipped the 13 as well. So if anyone's capable of doing the hard flip, we know it was Jon Cos. For Skydome 13, you also got to give a shout out to TJ Rogers. I mean, he did probably the only person to flip his board nollie. Right after this clip right here, after the crook nollie flip, you see him do the nollie heel down Skydome 13, and just like, you can just see how large that thing is. It's so beast. Also got to give a shout out to Jeffrey Cernick for the switch frontside flip over the rail at Skydome 13. That trick's definitely up there. Why it was only like an Instagram clip, I'll never know why. Then when we come to the rail at Skydome 13, Jayden Bono, 180 switch crook down the 13 rail. I think that's definitely up there as one of the craziest tricks to ever go down in Toronto. Jayden Bono's also done backside over crook down it as well. For the 180 switch crook, that's just a personal favorite of mine. I think that's a trick that not a lot of people are doing on rails of that size. So shout out to Jayden Bono on that one. TJ Rogers, I think it plays right after this clip too, right after this nollie flip at Roy Thompson, which is also a crazy trick by the way. In his STJIF part, he switchback lipped the 13. That might be the scariest trick that you could try. Popping switch into like a switchback lip on that rail would be so terrifying. Like, I don't know, that might be the hardest one. That's just personal opinion though. Let me know what you guys think, and also let me know in the comments down below if there's anything that I missed in this video too. Like if you think there's more tricks, which I'm sure there is, that should have been on this list, put them down in the comments down below too. It's gonna be pretty hard to put everything in this video, but I think you'll appreciate the ones that I do put in the video though. And I think for the final trick on Skydome, and again, this isn't like in any way saying this is the best, it's not the worst, I'm not downplaying it in any way, I'm not overshadowing any other tricks, it's nothing like that. I just think when it came to Go Skateboarding Day 2019, that backside nose blunt by Luke Shearing was definitely such a game changer on that rail. That was probably like the best trick that have gone down on that rail at that time, the backside nose blunt. Before that, I want to say maybe front blunt by Ben Patterson and front nose blunt by Jayden Bono and Chad Fernandez. Seeing Luke do that backside that day was insane. That was definitely a memorable Go Skateboarding Day in Toronto. And then we come to Morgan Smith at Bickford. This spot, if you've never been there, might not translate on film the best, but that set of stairs is so long. It's a long 4 stair with an out ledge, and you got to gap the last stair. Switch tail, switch 270, heel flip out. And he makes it look small. Like, the way he did it on that angle made it look kind of small. But if you've been there, like, you'd know, like, that's just next level, dude. And then at the top of Bickford, you also have this rail here that no one really skates, but Dylan Moore, he did 50-50 on it on a Bickford bum rush video. But then you also have Jeffrey Cernick, who did it regular for a video part too, but 50-50 on that rail is no joke. It was also done, and let me know in the comments down below. I'm blanking on the name right now, but there was someone else who's from the States. I think one of these guys got a photo for it and never ended up getting run because the other person did it as well and put it out first. It was some sort of drama like that. I can't really remember off the top of my head. Someone in the comments will know. Next, we make our way to Unitel. I think Unitel is definitely one of the most iconic double stairs in Toronto. You don't get a lot of time there. That's what makes that spot even more crazy than it is the way it would translate on film. It's already big as it is. It's a 3-flat-5 stair. We have Mitch Donovan, who did switch hard flip on it. Being there for that day and the way he did it, you see he lands it perfectly. Like, it's a clear, perfect ride away. Crashes into the doors because it looks like that guy was going to come out of the doors there, but he didn't. I gotta put that one up there. It may be a little bit biased because he's one of my good friends, but it's still a switch hard flip on a spot that you get maybe 2 to 5 minutes at tops. Morgan Smith, he also did switch big flip on it. I think that's arguably one of the hardest switch flip tricks you could do ever.
You don't need a celebration. Come on, let's watch that shit.
Morgan's going to be on this list a couple times, let's just say that. Jon Cos, he also has shut that thing down. Not only did he do back 3 kickflip on it, which that clip is no longer online. Luckily, we have it. It was in his SBC part, and yeah, it just kind of goes by like it was nothing, but that is so insane. Back 3 kickflip on that is arguably the best trick to go down on it as a stair trick. But he also did gap kick front board on the rail on 2019 Go Skate Day, which was also so insane. Like, I remember the whole crowd just erupting on that day. I had a nice front row seat to that one too. No one else has also flipped into that rail to this day as well, or even before that. But I do got to give a shout out to TJ Rogers for doing the gap frontside nose grind. Another clip that goes by super quick in his part, it was on the barracks part. I think it's called Rising. Next up, we move to Commerce 10. This is an iconic 10 stair right in the heart of Toronto, right in the city. This 10 stair doesn't compare to your average 10 stair. It is longer than pretty much any 10 stair I've actually been to. Jeff Dekeyzer, when he came to Toronto for the Bunt Jam in 2024, he got his on this thing. And we're talking craziest tricks, guys. There's a lot of tricks that have gone down on this spot by a ton of locals as well. Pro skaters, you name it. But when Jeff came down, I think we got to give him like the absolute 2 craziest tricks that have gone down on this spot. I remember filming them too. He triple flipped it within a few tries, and then he didn't like the way he did it, so he came back around and said, fuck it, I'm just going to do it again. And he triple flipped it again, got the ride away into the road, and it was just wild, dude. I remember that this was all in one session as well. He's like, I want more. He wasn't done yet. He wanted to do tray double down it as well. And so he just went back up there. Again, same session. And we're getting kicked out by security guard right now. He has one last try to do it. Luckily, the security was super cool. Like, the best tray double you could do right there. Shout out Jeff Dekeyzer on that one for coming down and fucking up Commerce 10 for everybody. I don't even think the set's been double flipped before. And he triple flipped it. So that was definitely a treat to see in person. I was hyped on that one. CBC is one of the most iconic spots. They've even had it in a video game. They had it in Skate 2. Bobby Dekeyzer, he did a really sick one at CBC, which is one of my personal favorites. He does manual backside flip to switch manual over the gap. But it plays right after this clip right here. To hold the switch manny after that backside flip and keep it going straight, even though it's not like a long manual pad afterwards, like, you gotta know how crazy that is. Bobby Dekeyzer has definitely done a lot of crazy ledge tricks, manual tricks at that spot, but I put that one up as my favorite. In the Max Solar Born Free video, Jon Cos, he had a very similar trick. You got this one right here where John does manual frontside flip, switch manny. Another one that's just like, whoa, that's wild. I gotta put him on the list. If we're putting the manny backside flip, switch manny on the list, that definitely, as an equal counterpart, goes up there too. Nick Tucker, in the Primitive Opal video, his inward heel flip manual to nose manny, nollie inward heel flip out was insane right here. That's crazy. Like, that's definitely one of the best tricks to go down on the manual pad. then you have this road gap at CBC as well. Dylan Moore, he's the one who's actually just shut it down. He's kick flipped it, he's backside flipped it, and he tray flipped it as well. That tray flip right there makes absolutely no sense. That's not a spot. It's literally not a spot. It's way too long. The run up isn't that long for you to get the speed for it. Luckily, you're skating on like this marble surface, so you're not going to slow down in any way. Once you get going, like you're flying down it. But yeah, that's not a spot. Backside flip and tray flip. If I had to pick between either of the two to try, I'm trying backside flip for sure because I know I can at least clear the gap with the 180 of it. Tray flip, though, is gnarly, dude. This clip coming up in a second is not a spot. It's another one of those where it's not a spot, but we got to give a shout out to Lee Yankou for doing this double ollie at Central Tech. That nollie heel down TD double is also one of the gnarliest tricks to ever go down in Toronto. But this ollie right here, like, ollieing up, that thing's insane. And then ollieing to the sidewalk, that makes no sense. In the line, too, he managed the curb after. You have some of the two craziest tricks to ever go down in Toronto, back-to-back in that part. It was in Blue Tile Lounge, Baby Blue. You have that nollie heel down TD double. No one's skating that thing nollie with a flip trick. It is large. The ground is not the best, and you don't get a lot of time there. And then to back it up with that double ollie, that makes no sense. That's just crazy. This one I gotta shout out a filmer, Chris Wardle, Tort Dreams. Dude, Bathurst Station. Some of you who have not been there, or even some of you in general, just might be like, all right, but he held on to the rail. And I don't even care. This one definitely gets the mention. He 50-50'd this big ass double kinked wall rail beside an escalator, and he's like holding the wall as he's going down it, but he's flying down that 50-50. So crazy. And a lot of people in my DMs were actually saying like that one is definitely up there on that list. So yeah, shout out to Tort. That one was super wild, and I think he broke his leg or something like that trying it. You see after the clip, like he's like limping away from it too. There's also the glass drop in. It kind of goes without saying. Like, I don't really have to say too much about this one. Just play the clip. Like, that is so gnarly. Like, if by standing up there, it's glass, dude. That is so dangerous. But he dropped in on that thing in Environment. That came out in like 2005. Shout out to Morgan on that one. That was some Death Wish shit. Another crazy one that Morgan did was at the Mars rail, which people typically skate the handrail down at the bottom. I think it's on like an 8 stair. Right behind it, you could see that there's this giant 18 stair. And Morgan Smith ollied it back in the Prodrome. And also in Toronto, we don't really have any sets of stairs that are like of the 20 stair range. So I don't think I've seen anybody actually step up to something of that size besides Morgan. That one definitely has to make it onto the list as well. We also got to talk about the TD gap, the TD death drop gap that Morgan Smith switch ollie. There's a really sick photo of it, and unfortunately he only landed it by breaking his tail and riding away. So the footage never actually came out, but that one was definitely one of the most iconic looking switch ollies in the Toronto scene, especially back in the day as well. No one's skating that as a gap. It has been skated as a manual pad. You've seen Jamie Thomas skate it. He actually nose manied it way back in the day. And then Brendan Del Bianco did nollie shove nose manny on it too. And the drop is so tall. Like Mortal, he's done some shit. There's the drop in, ollie to drop in spot. That one's gnarly too. No one else has skated that thing. Every time you just skate by that spot, because you're not going there to skate it, but every time you skate by it, you think, wow, Mortal did that shit. So shout out to him. This one's also super next level. TJ, this is at Sunlife building in Toronto as well. It's a 2-stair to a long sidewalk to the road. I really hate how some of these spots, you can't make them translate in video to where when you actually see them in person. Because when you see this spot in person, like typically most people just skate this as a ledge, then to a 2-stair. Like you're not skating this as a gap. People have, but it's typically not skated that way. And TJ switch heel flipped it, which was absolutely insane. Like that switch heel is crazy. Even though he clipped it a little bit, like even when he's riding away, he's like, I'm taking it. Like
parts are at. Boom. I was a little surprised, I'm not gonna lie. I was getting kicked out I only tried like 4 or 5 of them, and then that one just kind of landed it.
We got to do a UofT episode as well, which we're gonna do in like the springtime, summertime, and it'll be a long one, that's for sure. It might even be a few episodes long, but we gotta give Rick McCrank a shout out for this one. He has absolutely shut down this rail in Girl Yeah Right. So like back in 03, and there's the rail right there. He 50-50s it, but then he does all these gap tricks: gap side, gap backboard, gap front lip, gap 5-0. But the gap frontside nose grind was next level. Like, that is so large. Ryan Smith's frontside flip nose grind at Hydro Hubba. I got that one in my DMs a lot too. We covered that video. If you haven't watched that one, click the link right around here somewhere. Check it out, because yeah, that thing, you'll see how tall it is, and just the detail that we go into when we talk about that spot will kind of give you an idea more on just how insane that is. No one did anything on that Hubba of that caliber of a trick besides himself. Actually, he also kickflip nose slid it. And for everybody in the comments, you'll be like, that's a 5-0. Hey, when you frontside flip and you go to your nose for the grind, and you're popping from your regular stance to your nose, it's a nose grind. You can call it a switch 5-0 if you want. You're not wrong, but frontside flip nose grind is the name of the trick. All right. At TD, there's a mani pad that is not a mani pad. Paul Iliani, he did switch nose mani fakie flip on it. That was pretty beast. That thing's too tall. It's not a spot. Somehow some people have the pop to get up onto that thing switch and do switch nose mani fakie flip. So shout out to Paul Iliani for that one too. On the other side of Central Tech that we saw Yankou do that double ollie, on the other side of the school, there's this giant double kinked rail right there. Like, Zack Ferguson board slid that shit. It is so big, so gnarly in person. I don't know how he did that. There's like no run up for it too. Again, leave comments down below what you think are the craziest tricks. If we haven't touched on anything in this video so far that you believe should be on this list, let me know. Like, I know there's more. Don't get me wrong. I know there's so much more, but I feel like this is a pretty good list. And for the last one of the video, I think there was a pretty big mutual agreement on this one. This is actually the clip that I posted on my story as well when I was asking, like, what do you think the craziest tricks are in Toronto? A lot of people, you agreed with me that Peter Ramondetta's nose mani nollie flip at TD8 is gotta be #1. And I know we weren't ranking anything today, but this one, I think we do just gotta give it that #1 spot, just because if you've been there, you know that no one else has tried anything like that to this day. And this came out back in 2006, circa its time. Right here, nose mani nollie flips to the road. That drop is massive. The way it was edited too with the AC/DC song was always sick. Shout out to Peter Ramondetta. I think he's taking the cake on this one. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Yeah, this is obviously a different kind of video. We're not always going to be able to get out into the streets and get out into the wilds here, especially like in the wintertime. So if you guys like more videos like this, let me know. If you don't like them, that's all good. Let me know too. Just trying different stuff and just working with what I got. Yeah, with all that said, we will have another video out in the streets. We'll do another skate spot history coming out in the next video next week. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe for more if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.